Welcome, all my fellow Washington brethren and sister. I am your man and resident Washington football team fan, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on the Washington Football Report live and in color. Don't diss the man or I'll bum rush your mother. How are you guys doing tonight? I want to ask you guys a question. And this question really is going to be the basis for tonight's show. Now, obviously, the show goes wherever you guys take it. You guys usually take over the show and talk about whatever it is you guys deem necessary. But this is the question that I want to pose to you guys tonight. Has your expectations for the season changed? I talked to so many people, and the expectations for the season are quite lofty, almost scary even. So I'm asking you guys out there, what are your expectations for the upcoming season? And I can tell you this right now, just looking at where I started this process with Ron Rivera in terms of when he took the job, the expectation was, okay, 3-year, 4-year process. Remember, I talked about last year that Ron was coming in here. This was a total rebuild. He was going to have to build this thing from the ground up. The roster was not trash, but it wasn't great. The culture was awful. It was one of the worst in the league. And it was going to take some time. I told you there were no expectations last year. I said, I don't really know if they're going to be big expectations this year, but the year after that, remember I kept saying 2022, that's the year. That's the year where we need to be winning something meaningful and playing for something meaningful. That's the year where there will be expectations from me. That's how we started out when Ron got this job last year. And I want to say late December, early January. That's where we were. I want to say it was late December. He got the job in Washington. You fast forward to July of 2021, and I'm going to be honest with you. My expectations have changed for this team. Now, are they lofty expectations? I talked to a lot of you out there, okay? There are a lot of you Washington fans out there, and you guys are talking about this team as if they're going 12-5 this year, 13-4. Now, I don't have us doing that, okay? I don't have us winning that many games. I told you I'm a 9-8 guy right now, okay? I'm a 9-8 guy. Until I see Ryan Fitzpatrick or whomever's at quarterback be consistent and the schedule is murderer's row. And, I don't like to play the schedule game, but look, we know which teams, again, barring catastrophe, we know which teams are going to be good and which teams aren't, okay? The quarterback position usually tells the story there. We're not talking about a team that, like the Dolphins, for instance, last year, who got hot, won some games, but their quarterback situation wasn't really, it wasn't ideal. But they won 10 games last year. And then we think they could be good this year. Now, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the best of the best in the league at the quarterback position. We're playing those teams. Those are the teams that are usually good year in, year out because they have the guy at the most important position that allows them to be in the conversation each and every single year. The Russell Wilsons, the Patrick Mahomeses of the world, the Aaron Rodgers. These are the teams that we are playing. Tom Brady. These are the teams we're playing on the schedule. These are the quarterbacks that we will face on the schedule. And the list goes on and on and on. So, with that said, how do you guys look at this season? What are your expectations? Because I talked to a lot of you, and again, this is the last time I'm going to say this because I've already said it 2 or 3 times, but 12-5, 13-4. I'm hearing crazy numbers as if we figured out the quarterback position just a year ago. And I also want to know, where were you when Ron Rivera took this job from a big picture standpoint? What did you think that this team was going to be in terms of this rebuilding process? Where did you think they would be in the process at this point? Because I can tell you this much. Let me just say this. Had we not won the division last year, that 7-9 would feel a lot different than it does right now. The 7-9 that we had last year, it feels like 9-7 because we won the division, we hosted a playoff game, and we took the eventual Super Bowl champions to the limit. Now, again, they didn't have their best player. I don't care. That's not our problem. We didn't have a quarterback. We had a guy in there that hadn't started a game all season for us. So there are no excuses. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear that. At the end of the day, we pushed them to the limit. Not wearing it as a badge of honor. We didn't beat them. But it showed that we had the mettle to go toe-to-toe with the league's best. So the 7-9 last year feels different. But it's not different. It's 7-9. Okay? We didn't win 10 games last year. We snuck in the back door of the worst division in football. It feels like this team is trending in the right direction. We've talked about that all off season, how excited we are for the upcoming season. But have some of your expectations gone too far? I'm doing these positional rankings, and some of you have lost your damn minds, okay? No, we're better than that team. And I'm like, you sure about that? You really think we're better than that team at that particular position? Like some of y'all, you're making things up in your head because you're trying to convince yourself of something that's not real yet. It may become real, okay? But a lot of you are trying to convince yourself of something that isn't tangible yet. You can't touch 11 wins right now. But in your mind, here's how we're going to get there. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to know where you guys stand, okay? So we'll go through where you guys stand with that tonight. We'll talk about some different things. I've already broken down multiple positions in this on this team offensively. We're going to wrap that up next week. We're going to wrap up early next week. We're going to wrap up offensive line and tight end. And then we're going to mosey our way over to the defensive side of the football. All of this will be done before the start of training camp, which is in late July. So we'll have all of the positions knocked out, all 9 of them, as we separate them down the road. But we've talked about running back, quarterback, wide receiver already. I put the wide receiver video out today. And a lot of you seem to think that this is a top 10 wide receiving core. And I can't subscribe to that. Now, we're not that far off. I've got us 12th. Okay? I've got us 12th. You could argue that there are 2 or 3 teams that I had us ahead of that we could easily be behind, depending on who you ask. Cleveland is a great example of that. They got Odell Beckham Jr. Nobody on our roster is even close to that guy when he's healthy. Again, when he's healthy. That's the key phrase. He wasn't healthy last year. But you could put 12 to 1,300 yards pretty much down for this guy when he's healthy. He's had 1,000 yards receiving in pretty much every single season of his career that he's been healthy. All right. So, and they got Jarvis Landry. So they've got stuff. But that said, there are other teams out there that you could, look at their receivers and say, how are we better than them? You could go the other way and say, we are better than them. And I said we weren't. So at the end of the day, a lot of what we feel about this team is based off of projections. There are certain teams in this league that have done it already. So it's not as much a projection as it is, hey, look, we're going off of past performances here, okay? When we talk about these quarterbacks and how good they are and why these are tough games, we're going off of past performances. These quarterbacks have done it multiple years in this league. They've established themselves as among the best in the business. When you have the credentials to back up some of the prognostication, it makes it a lot easier for you to feel comfortable saying, yeah, we're going to win 12 games. That's not us. All right? We don't have the tangible evidence. We don't have the proof that we are capable of winning double-digit games. The quarterback leading this team at this current juncture hasn't played in a single playoff game. So again, I want to temper your expectations, but I don't want to put a cap on your excitement because I'm excited. Here's the difference between me and a lot of you out there. Now, if I'm not talking to you, I'm not talking to you. The difference between me and a lot of you out there is that I can be super excited, as excited as any of you out there, and still keep the expectations not to a minimum, but keep the expectations reasonable. Some of you tie your expectations to your excitement level. That's where you go wrong. Because you're super excited about the team doesn't mean they're going to win 12 or 13 games. You can be super excited about the team and still realize and recognize, hey, we got a little ways to go and we don't have the quarterback situation solved unless one of these guys balls out that we're not anticipating them to do that. So that's the difference between me and some of you out there, is that you tie your expectations to your excitement level and you're really excited. So am I. I'm super excited for the upcoming season. And I said this already, the most excited I've been probably since the 2016 season. Going into that season after we won the division, Kirk went off the year before with the You Like That season, and we should have beat Green Bay. Felt like we should have beat the Packers in the postseason, but we didn't. And that next year we were coming back. We were healthy. We were locked and loaded. It was the third year Jay Gruden. We didn't know he stunk as a coach at that moment. So, really, he only had 2 years on the job. The first year, he had to rid himself of Griffin. And then the second year, he was on the ropes. He felt like, it felt like everybody was on the ropes because the Code Red game happened against Tampa. And it felt like Gruden could get fired. It felt like Kirk could get benched. It felt like everything could be blowing up that quick. It turned around and seemed like in 1 week, and the rest felt like history. All right, here we go, 2016, let's get it. And the Steelers come to town, embarrass us. And I don't want to say the rest is history because we had an opportunity to make the postseason that year. But I digress. I don't want to go off on a tangent there. Bottom line is, I haven't been this excited for a season since 2016. That wasn't a successful season. A lot of you say, I haven't been this excited for a season since 2013 or 2012. I wasn't as excited going into the 2012 season with Griffin. There were no expectations for me. I didn't know what to expect. I just was happy that we had a quarterback, wanted to see what this guy was all about. Remember the preseason of 2012, they didn't really showcase a lot of Griffin. They kind of kept everything under wraps. Everything was vanilla. And then they came out that first game against New Orleans, unleashed what we would later, come to know as the read option in the NFL. Obviously, that's in college and in high school, but teams weren't really doing that in the NFL at that time. And the drift route, he threw the touchdown to Pierre Garçon, and he was griffining. And they unleashed this offense on the rest of the league that they hadn't seen and wasn't ready for. So I didn't know what to expect in 2012. I wasn't looking forward to 2013, even after winning the division, because Griffin wasn't healthy, and I wasn't all in for week one. So this is the happiest. This is the most excited I've been since 2016. So I'm excited, but I also realize we do have limitations on this roster and none bigger than the quarterback position potentially. So I do want to keep everything in its proper perspective. But again, I'm excited, man. You can't tell me that we don't have a shot each and every single week, especially if this defense is what I think it's going to be. But they can't do it by themselves. They proved that last year. As good as they were last year, they still had games where they weren't great, and the offense had to pick them up, and they were incapable of doing that last year. I think the offense is going to be better equipped to do that this year, but are they going to be able to do it consistently without turning it over and putting this defense in compromising positions? We're going to see. But I'm excited about this group. I'm excited about the talent we have. But just because we have more talent than we've had in the past doesn't mean we just catapult into the top 10 of every category, from a position standpoint. Guys have to go out and prove it. So, I haven't gotten to one position that we're top 10 in, and I don't think we're going to be top 10 in any position on the offensive side of the football. I think we won't crack the top 10 until we get to the defensive side of the football. We'll be consistently in the top 10, I think, on that side of the football, or at least in a couple of positions we'll be in the top 10. I can't really speak to, linebacker and safety at this current juncture, but corner, feel really good about that. I feel really good about – I feel great about the defensive line, as should you guys out there. So I'm just going to make sure I reiterate this again. If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the Louie T Network for more great content. Turn on your notification bell. Also hit that like button. But what are your expectations for this season? Are they lofty? Have they changed dramatically since Ron has taken over? What did you think this team was going to be last year this time, this season? What were your projections? Were you thinking, okay, Ron's going to come in here, we may win 5 or 6 games in his first year. The next year we may go 8-8, and the following year that's when we're going to compete. That was more along my line of thinking, is that Ron's going to come in here, he's going to help us change the culture. They're going to try to put the pieces of the puzzle together. It's going to be a process. Ron came in here and he made sure, and he was very smart to do this, made sure he told everybody, hey, this is not a quick fix. This is not a quick fix by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to take time for me to come in here and fix this. To change a culture in the military, it takes 3 or 4 years. So I got work to do. So this is going to be 3 years before we're really competing for something major. He kind of tried to beat that into our heads early on, and he was smart to do that. Lower the expectations. Well, they outkicked the coverage last year. Look, it was 7-9. I get it. But they still won the division. As bad as it may have been, you won the division, you hosted a home playoff game, and it's given people extra ammunition to think that this year could be a year where we win double-digit games and make some noise in the postseason. I've already said that I am a believer that this roster right now, as it stands, is legit. We are just missing consistency from the quarterback position. If that is in fact the case, then we should be in a position to compete this year if we get consistency from the quarterback position. We don't know how good this defense is going to be. We don't know how good the offense is going to be. We don't know how consistent the kicking game with what's my guy's name? Sheesh. Damn. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. I can see his damn face. I can't think of his name. What is our kicker's name, guys? Somebody help me. Dustin Hopkins. Never mind. D-Hop. We don't know if he's going to be consistent. We need a bounce back year from Dustin Hopkins. He was terrible last year. He was under 80% last year. It's a field goal kicker. I think he kicked it at a 79% clip. And I know he's better than that. You know he's better than that. He's had a season where he made like 90% of his field goals. We need him to get back to that. We can't have him missing a kick every game or every other game. So I think that the expectations have definitely changed. Are the goals and expectations extremely lofty? For me, no. But they've changed significantly. When Ron first took this job, I thought that this was will be competitive in 2022 type of situation. That's what I looked at it as. But after winning the division and continuing to make improvements on the roster with free agency like they did this year, and then the draft, again, thinking that we had another strong draft, coupling with the guys that they picked in free agency last year in the draft last year and seeing how they fared, I feel like this team has a chance to maybe skip a step or two. We'll see. But it's all going to be dependent on the quarterback position. So